In what was honestly a surprise development, Nikki Haley has now won her second primary, beating Donald Trump in Vermont. This comes only days after she claimed victory in Washington, D.C. by 30 points, 63 to 33, and taking all 19 delegates from that district. Now, let's talk about what this means for Donald Trump. Does this mean that he's in danger of losing the Republican primary? No. He'll wrap up the nomination shortly. But it's how he's wrapping up the nomination that is exposing some serious problems to the Republican frontrunner. Think about his margins in recent contests. 51% in Iowa, 54% in New Hampshire, 60% in South Carolina, 68% in Michigan, and now 46% in Vermont. None of those are runaway wins for the guys, if they're even wins at all, which is only highlighted by the fact that Joe Biden is winning his primary contest almost exclusively with results in the 90s. In this very state of Vermont, Biden's at 90%, a number that Trump very obviously would kill for. And yet, far from hitting that number, this guy isn't even getting a majority. Sad. And so while this might not have any discernible impact on the ultimate result in the GOP primary, it will have other smaller consequences. Not only does this loss highlight Trump's pattern of weakness within his own base, not only does it undermine his perceived strength that he's some master politician who can't stop winning, not only does Haley's continued presence in the race prevent Donald Trump from truly pivoting to the general against Joe Biden, but most importantly, Haley is identifying thousands upon thousands upon thousands of voters that the Biden campaign can flip. She's basically leaving the Democrats a blueprint of exactly what persuadable voters are out there, and it doesn't come at a dime's worth of cost to the Biden campaign. How's that for an in-kind contribution to Biden? And remember, it may actually get worse for Trump, because here's what Haley had to say when asked about the RNC's pledge to support the eventual nominee.
Taken the prospect, the possibility of endorsing him off the table at this point?
It's not anything I think about. What I have said
is it off the table, Ambassador? It sounds like you are in a different place. Are people misinterpreting what you're saying? Have you moved to a place where you're no longer planning to endorse him?
Well, I think, first of all, if you talk about an endorsement, you're talking about a loss. I don't think like that. When you're in a race, you don't think about losing. You think about continuing to go forward. What I can tell you is I don't think Donald Trump or Joe Biden should be president. I don't think that we need two candidates in their 80s. I don't think we want a Joe Biden who calls his opponents fascists or a Donald Trump who calls his opponents vermin. No one wants that. I think people want a new generational leader that is going to go back to what the American dream is, what we want for our kids, in a place that's something that we can be proud of again.
Let me try it this way. You did sign a pledge, an RNC pledge, to support the eventual nominee. Do you still feel bound by that pledge?
I have always said that I have serious concerns about Donald Trump. I have even more concerns about Joe Biden.
So is that a no? Are you bound by the RNC pledge?
The RNC pledge, I mean, at the time of the debate, we had to take it to where, would you support the nominee? And you had to, in order to get on that debate stage, you said yes. The RNC is now not the same RNC. Now it's
So you're no
Trump's
longer bound by that pledge?
No, I think I'll make what decision I want to make, but that's not something I'm thinking about. And I think that while y'all think about that, I'm looking at the fact that we had thousands of people in Virginia. We're headed to North Carolina. We're going to continue to go to Vermont and Maine and all these states to go and show people that there is a path forward. And so I don't look at what ifs. I look at how do we continue the conversation.
She's very clearly leaving the door open to not endorse Donald Trump in the 2024 race, which would be yet another boon to Democrats and Joe Biden. Which is not to say that Nikki Haley is some unbeatable juggernaut on the right, but she is winning not insignificant portions of voters in these primary contests, including this one in Vermont where she won the majority. And a number of those voters have already made clear that they are simply not interested in voting for Donald Trump. So if she ultimately refuses to endorse him, then those voters aren't even given that permission structure to come home to Trump in the end. It may not feel like it, but that can have a huge impact, especially considering these races are won on the margins. In a state like Georgia, for example, where Biden won by over 10,000 votes, or Wisconsin, where Biden won by just over 20,000 votes, every single ballot matters. And Haley refusing to endorse Donald Trump could mean the difference between a Trump win or a Trump loss in those very states. That she's actually leaving the door open is a blinking red light for her former boss. In fact, I spoke to former Obama speechwriter and host of Pod Save America, Jon Favreau, about this exact topic of Haley refusing to endorse Trump, and here's what he had to say. Well, I guess the real question should be, does she endorse Donald Trump or does she endorse nobody?
Right. So I think I'm at a 20-30% chance she endorses nobody. But I think she ends up getting behind Trump. But again, I would make the case to her that even for her own political future, that like she should not endorse anyone.
Well, do you think that she's past the point of no return? I mean, she is the only person standing in between Donald Trump launching his like a full-scale campaign against Joe Biden.
Definitely past the point of no return, which is why I was.
So then, what are you doing?
What are you doing, right? Because if she, so let's go down the path. She endorses Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump loses, right? Then she is not the future of the party because she endorsed Donald Trump. Right. She was part of it. And someone else is going to come along and say, you know what, this whole Trump thing, this cost us.
Throw them all out the window. Yeah.
Now, say she endorses Donald Trump wins. He's not going to forget. He holds a grudge. Yeah. Right? She's out. She's out no matter what. So there's no benefit to endorsing him. There's no future for Nikki Haley in a Trump-led Republican Party. Yeah. There's just none. So, and I think she knows that. So if she knows that, then stepping back, right, she's going to get a lot of shit from the Trump people. She's going to be exiled from the Republican Party. She's going to have no future. But if Donald Trump loses and Joe Biden wins and she didn't endorse Donald Trump, then she can say, I still think she doesn't get a nomination because I think the party's too Trumpy, the base of the party. But at least she has an argument in 2028, which is, I told you so. I told all of you that this was going to happen.
Now look, before any critics out there accuse me of huffing hopium, I'm not saying that Trump is going to lose the nomination to Nikki Haley. I am simply saying that the number of Republican voters who are broadcasting their blatant disgust with Donald Trump puts a very clear picture on display, one that should definitely worry Trump heading into November. Need some examples? Here you go.
Anything but Trump.
That was your priority.
That's my priority.
Is that the biggest reason you supported Nikki Haley?
Yeah, I'd say.
Because of Donald Trump?
Yes, yeah.
I would vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump in a heartbeat.
Republican, I am. What do you do in that event if he is the nominee and it's he and Joe Biden? What do you do? I vote for Joe Biden.
Hi, Nikki Haley.
I think Donald Trump is a threat to the well-being of our country.
She drops out. Would you be disappointed if she endorsed Trump?
She does. I'll vote Democrat.
No.
That's all there is to it.
It's important to me to keep Trump out of office again. Project 2025, I've read it, I've studied it, it's scary, it's frightening.
I've lived in a constitutional democracy all my life. I want to remain that way, and I want my grandchildren to grow up in one, not a dictatorship.
And I'm curious, over the last two elections, have you voted Trump in the past? Was it something where you voted for him, you trusted him, and you were disappointed?
Yes, I voted for him in 2016. I am a registered Republican, and I regretted that vote almost immediately.
Now, with that said, here's the usual caveat, and I've said this before, but it is worth repeating as many times as I can. Ignore the primary results and ignore the polls. We should always act as if Donald Trump is up by 90 points. That means we keep organizing, we keep working on our circles of people, and we keep spreading good information about what this administration has done that the media refuses to cover. And we don't get complacent because we have a good poll, and we don't give up in despair because we have a bad poll. This is all noise. The work we do between now and November is all that matters. So why cover these primary contests? Because it is telling us an important message, that Donald Trump is vulnerable and that we can win. Again, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, because it's not, and it's going to require work and patience. But even Republican base voters are broadcasting that Donald Trump is in trouble. So our job is to do whatever we can to rebuild the coalition that defeated him back in 2020. We've done it before and we can do it again. These results are proof of exactly that. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.